Welcome to the new edition of the HbbTV webinar series. It's the first edition of the new year. You wouldn't think it's the first one. Year has quite had some impact already, but it's a great topic and we have got a great interest reflecting the significance of our topic by more than 240 people registering to watch that live. So thank you for your strong interest in this webinar. And as usual, I'll quickly give you an overview of the participants that we have today, and then we'll start with the first presentation. And please do send us your questions through you can see a little question mark item here in the toolbox, and we'll collect them at the end. Then we'll have about 15 minutes of a joint Q&A, and we're happy to discuss all the questions you have regarding the topics being presented today. Audience measurement and analytics with HbbTV. We'll be looking at different methods of using HbbTV and HbbTV-based tools to track and monitor and measure viewership and analyze the data and the figures with HbbTV. And we'll be showing you how this increases the data, the accuracy and the precision of the data. Unfortunately, we have lost one speaker. Kerstin Niederauer from AGF in Germany is not able to join us today. She sends her apologies. She has a strategic meeting she has to attend, but she assured me that she will be part of another edition of the HbbTV webinar series this year. So we will certainly get this update from Germany, but just not now. So on the positive side, there's more time to look at other markets, including Spain, the UK, and Austria. We have two speakers who are going to present the update from Spain first, and Spain is a market where HbbTV-based audience measurement is already in place. So there's lots of experience already coming from Spain, and the two people discussing that with us is first of all Moritz Wuttke, Vice Chairman and Board Member of Conodrag, and then we have Stuart Wilkinson, Managing Director of Business Development of 55 Blue, a company you might not know yet, but it used to be called Kantar Media, so you're certainly familiar with Kantar. Then we have Horst Hosiani from Virtual Minds in Austria, a subsidiary of ProSiebenSat.1, a German media company. He's a senior strategic advisor, and he's been very much involved in the Teletest 2.0 system or scheme that has integrated HbbTV alongside panel-based measurement into their national ratings measurement system for TV. There's with the UK update, Samir Mota from ITV, his measurement innovation lead, who's going to give us an update more on the side of how to use the data, what to do with the data that you've accumulated. There's a massive amount of data, but of course the data is only useful if you know how to handle it, how to use it, how to analyze it. And last, we have Bruno joined from Eutelsat, a video services architect and project manager, who's going to discuss HbbTV-based solutions and from a satellite operator perspective. And I think a lot of these things are taking place in the MENA markets. And there's Samir. Hi, and welcome to you as well. Let's get started. As usual, first the disclaimer: the presentations present the views of the presenters and the companies they represent, not necessarily the views of the HbbTV Association. There'll be a recording made at the end of this show for you on the HbbTV YouTube channel. So for all of you who can't watch this live, or some colleagues who can't make it, we'll be sending you an email with the link to the recording. And the presentations will also be made available on the HbbTV website, and we'll send you the link so you can download all the presentations. Okay, let's get started. I'll give the presentation link now to Moritz, who's going to share the perspective from Conodrag. And here we go. There should be the presentation coming up shortly. Conodrag and 55 Blue.
Amazing. Yeah, and thank you very much for the introduction. It's actually Stuart and myself who will make the presentation, not only myself. So you will hear lots from 55 Blue, previous Kantar Media, and myself, where we share real 5-year experience from a market in Europe, in Spain, where HbbTV has been rolled out for the audience measurement in a proof of concept over the last 5 years. And the main part of this presentation is share the experience, share the validation requirements and the recommendations for other markets. We also give you a quick overview of where HbbTV is used in other markets around the world, and what that means for broadcasters and for agencies profiting from that reduction in zero rating and improving the granularity of the data set itself. So without further ado, let me give the word to Stuart. Stuart, please.
Okay, thank you. Can you all hear me okay? Just checking.
Yes, all fine.
Yep, perfect. Okay, thanks for the introduction, Moritz. So yeah, I'm Stuart Wilkinson. I lead the business development team at 55 Blue, formerly Kantar Media. I just wanted to start with obviously a geographic review, but also a historic review, so that we can put the opportunity that HbbTV signaling and measurement brings for the audience measurement sector. If we just look at the map and the descriptors of what we've got here, I'd like to start at the bottom of the chart with the RPD and census data processing. Just to highlight that, companies like Kantar Media, now 55 Blue, but a number of other companies around the world have been working with operators for a long time on their operator data sets, their set-top box return path data sets, to use that data to get very, very fine granular analytics on the audience consumption across content and also surfacing advertising insights as well. And what we see there are a number of logos of companies that we work with and have been working with on the RPD side for paid operators predominantly for nearly 20 years now. That asset that we have learnt to work with has then, in more recent years, probably over the last 5 years really, has been brought into JIC currency, so Joint Industry Committee body currencies. And there's three examples I'm just highlighting here. Numeris in Canada, MediaPulse in Switzerland, and Barb in the UK, where there's currently a proof of concept project going on to actually bring a fusion of the return path data together with the TV audience measurement panel to produce much more granular insights on the viewing of the consumption, but across pay TV, operator TV. But what we're here to talk about now is a new opportunity, obviously with HbbTV, and we're going to showcase the Conadrac 55 Blue team up in Spain, where we have been working for quite some time. But what we also want to point out is this is a move. We're going to hear from Austria soon. There's a proof of concept going on with AGF in Germany, which I'm sure we'll hear about in the future. But also to point out that in the UK as well, there's a proof of concept looking at how to use the HbbTV data to enhance the measurement of free-to-air linear television. But firstly, what is HbbTV data and how do we collect it? And Moritz, you're the man to show that on the next slide.
Well, thanks, Stuart. I'm not sure whether I'm the man to do that, but I can definitely try to. So just as a reminder again, thanks, Stuart, for reminding of that HbbTV is not the only way to get large data sets from the channels from RPD. You've been doing that for many years. But HbbTV, for the ones who are a little bit less technical, who always ask the question, what is this HbbTV and how does it work? Just one slide as a quick reminder again, how HbbTV measurement actually really works. So we have a normal classical broadcast setup where terrestrial broadcast is being transmitted through antennas and then being linked, being received to a TV set at home through an antenna. So this does not replicate or should indicate how a TV set is connected via a satellite, a dish, or via a cable modem, but really via a classical antenna. And there's nothing new in that, except of if that TV set is connected to the internet, which makes it a hybrid terminal because it receives data from the terrestrial antenna, but it can also communicate to the internet via either a Wi-Fi or via Ethernet cable, and that thing now allows that terminal, that TV set, to become smart. Call it a smart TV, and with that smart TV, you now can use the HbbTV technology to feed back to the broadcaster information about what that terminal is being watching. And that's basically what HbbTV allows, and that's something that we have been doing in Spain for more than 8 years now, and we have the experience of 5 years of doing that together with 55 Blue and the local jig, and the real, I would call it, sexiness of that HbbTV technology allowing us to do so is around 3 areas. Number one, it's a completely open system. So anybody can access that technology. It's open, available, and managed by the HbbTV consortium. New standards come up every 1 or 2 years. The second part is linked to the first one. It is not TV operator system dependent. So you don't need to create an app to measure the TV consumption on 17 or 18 different operating systems, which are out there today. No, in all the markets where HbbTV is being implemented, the manufacturers are obliged to basically support HbbTV, and therefore HbbTV as one single source is being introduced on the broadcast side, and then the TV set automatically basically triggers that information back to the channel. So that's a huge, huge achievement, and everyone who comes from the app development side or from the channel side can appreciate that asset. And last but not least, HbbTV is available in plus than 35 markets, and those markets are growing every year, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in Southeast Asia or whether it's in APAC. Those markets are just extending and give the broadcasters more and more opportunities to work with that technology. So that's how this HbbTV thing works for audience measurement side. And what I wanted to give you the short summary really is our experience that we have done over 5 years in the Spanish market by not only reducing the zero rating, but also increase the granularity for geo and demographic data profiling. And last but not least, over the last 2 years, we got the technical certification by an independent auditor, which obviously is quite relevant if you want to become the truth, the accredited truth for the market. So zero rating, what does it mean? Zero rating means basically that the normal TAM panel, so the television audience measurement, says that in this chart, this is a children's channel, the people between 20 and 34 years old. There's nobody watching between 5:39 in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning, and then again between 10:54 and 11:15, and then between 15:48 and 18:15. Nobody's watching that channel. Now, you have lots of spikes in there, and it shows that between 9:09 and 9:30, suddenly 25,000 people are watching it. So that increase from 0 to 25 seems quite rapid. And the question comes up, is that really a fully representative view of the Spanish market? And the reality is that the channel itself knows that that is not really true, because they know that people are watching between 5:39 and 9:09 in the morning. But because the panel size with 6,500 people meter is just a bit too small to represent that part of the audience that watches it, but just falls out of that 6,500 or 6,000 people meter. Therefore, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, those channels, we call them niche channels, which have niche viewing demographics are being penalized going out to the media agencies trying to sell that inventory between 5 and 9 o'clock in the morning, between 4 in the afternoon and 6, because the media agency says, well, based on the TAM information, there's nobody watching it, so why should I pay for it? Now, the result of adding the granularity of 18 million TV sets that we measure on a minute-by-minute basis in Spain, with the work that 55 Blue has been doing by combining the TAM panel of 6,500 people meter with 18 million TV sets, results for this channel in a graph which looks slightly different. That means that this graph is actually the corrected graph, which shows the real viewership biased by the 18 million TV sets in a way that you get much more data sets, which allows this smaller channel to become a much more reliable curve over the entire day. Yes, you still have very low viewerships between 5 and 9 o'clock, but it doesn't mean that nobody's watching it. There are people watching it. It's just not zero. And that results in what we call an overview of zero rating by channel, which those 5 channels down here, which had previously between 2 and 20 or even 37% of the daytime zero ratings. Now, after the fusion, that zero rating was eliminated in the majority to 0%. So now LA1, LA2, 24H, and CLAN have over the day no more zero rating slots. Teledeporty, yes, still has 2% of the daytime being a zero rating because in effect nobody watches during that time, and that is fine. So that's a huge achievement, and that means real money. So we're talking about real value for the channel because they can now have a real truth from the jig to go out and say, this is not our invention, this is the real numbers confirmed by the jig in regards to viewership. Now, if you look at smaller or larger channels which don't have zero ratings, like DKIS, for example, the question is, how much does a larger channel profit or differ from those numbers when they're there? And the result is that the numbers actually, because there's no zero rating down there, the numbers don't really differ that much. It's very much a confirmation of what the TAM panel previously has reported back. We see in most cases, though, a slight uptake by 3 or 5% of what the TAM panel has been reporting beforehand. So it's more good news than anything else. So that's the real crux, the real advantage of reducing, eliminating zero ratings. And we see that in all the markets, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Austria, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in Australia, whether it's in, in any market, we have zero rating problems. And that's one of the biggest advantages that we have. Now, when it comes to reliability, obviously as a tech provider, we say, well, our technology is flawless, but the media agencies, the market needs a trustworthy auditor who comes in and says, is this reliable? And we've done that now in 24 and 25. And that technical certification done by the AIMC, I just show you 2 slides, which show you a kind of a result of that, where the first slide gives you a result of how congruent the data sets are. So the auditor checked 5 different manufacturers. He checked 5 different areas in Spain and measured the results that we gave them during 30 days. And the result is that, yes, there are some problems in the Wi-Fi signaling or the Ethernet signaling, or a hardware doesn't, give the data set always in a millisecond correct way. We report on a minute-by-minute viewership. Our technology measures second by second, but we report back on a minute by minute. And that granularity, that level of accuracy was then measured by AIMC, and we got back a level of agreement of 98.8% congruence in regards to what we're measuring versus what the hardware can give us. So there are, 1.2% unknown, which is unknown because of there's a loss of a package, of an IP package during the transmission, but everything else is 100% correct. It's just that part where, internet can have an issue during a blimp, that information is being missed. The other part, which is very relevant for a reporting, is the inalterability of the data. So is it possible that the data that we report back to 55 Blue could be altered, could be changed? And the result is no. All of the data that we reported back was 100% the same data as we got it from the devices, meaning the name of the channel, the minute of the channel reporting, the viewership, all of that was 100% correct. So those two stats, again, over a period of 30 days, we're doing that now for 5 years, give you a level of trustworthiness of how safe and secure that HbbTV technology is working around the world. And I think that level of confidence is massively important for a currency that is already being established, but now being adjusted, being altered with a level of detail, a level of precision, a level of granularity that was unheard of previously. And with that, I think there are many questions of how does this fusion actually work? And Stuart is the right man to answer that question. Stuart.
Okay, regarding questions, just jumping in, if you have any questions for the speakers, please send them in through the question mark button in the toolbox, and then we discuss them at the end in the joint Q&A.
Okay. Thank you, Jon. So for the next 5 minutes maximum, I'm going to just cover the methodology, have some points on the AIMC evaluation that was done on our work, and then some general reflections to close. So next slide, please. So firstly, we've introduced this as a hybrid measurement system. What I want to just cover quickly here is how we bring the two data assets together, or why we bring the two together. What benefits do they bring? Panel measurement has obviously been the mainstay of television audience measurement for, depending on the market, it could be up to 50, 60 years now. And what it's done is it gives us very good respondent level viewer behavior data. We can see the reach levels constrained by the panel size, but also it gives us the demographic coloring, the socio demographics and geographics of where the viewing takes place. And then now in the cross-media age, it also gives us cross-platform behavioral insights as well, so we can see how people are jumping between could be CTV apps or linear on the television set, or other devices such as media player apps on small screens and so on. But what the HbbTV data brings us is this full comprehensive daily account of all viewing in HbbTV case across the linear. So that's the tonnage or the minutage of all the viewing, the exposure to the ads and the viewing of the programs. And so what the hybrid system aims to do is bring these two assets together for a definitive view of the audience viewing of the day. So next slide, please, Moritz. Very light on methodology, but we explain this as a two-stage process at 55 Blue. In the first stage, what we do is we take our panel and we actually expand it a number of times. So we may be expanding that panel of 6,000 homes 12x or 15x, something like that. We're not expanding it to the full size of the population of the market because the data would become too big and too unwieldy. So we optimize the level of panel expansion that we do to build a meaningful fusion of the census data with the panel data. For those that know fusions, the panel data for us is the recipient data set and the census data is the donor data set. So essentially what we're doing is we are adding census level data to the expanded panel that we have now created. And then once we've done that first stage, the second stage for us is to drill into the personification of the data, or how we can actually draw out with the census level granularity of data, what the specific panelists within those expanded panel homes are. So I hope that makes sense to you, but essentially what we're saying is we're preserving the insights of the panel, and we are adding in the granularity that we get of the census data. And just an important point to make on this is, in a market, Spain included, not every single broadcaster has deployed the HbbTV measurement. So it's key that for those that have not done it, that the panel data is preserved, because that remains faithful to the original currency set before the hybrid data was available. But over time, more broadcasters, or all the broadcasters, will or can or should be deploying the measurement to get full benefit. Next slide, please, Moritz. So Moritz mentioned the AIMC audit that was done on the technical measurement, the HbbTV measurement. The other side of the coin, if you like, was an audit or evaluation done by the AIMC on the data modeling that we did. For those that don't know the AIMC, it was formed, just moved on a bit before it's back in 1988, but it's a non-profit tripartite organization that's job in Spanish media industry is to, on the one hand, do some media research itself, for example, in the audio area, but it also provides an audit function on the 55 Blue service. So absolutely the right body to evaluate what we do. So next slide, please. The aim of the audit, to be very brief, was essentially to look at the program that we're doing with Conadrac, look at the benefits that it brings for the reduction in the zero ratings and the sampling errors that a smaller panel may bring. But importantly, what they aim to do was reproduce the whole process. So obviously we have technical documentation on how we perform the fusion, and they set out to reprocess it and reprocess those algorithms to see if our technical documentation actually delivers what we say it does. And the results of that were positive. They're looking at comparing the results with the original panel only measurement to just check that it is a genuine enhancement and no biases are being introduced. And then obviously auditors, being auditors, make recommendations on improvements. And Moritz has already hinted that there was a review done in 2024 and again in 2025. So this is a process of iteration and improvement over time. The next slide, please, Moritz. And so highlights of the findings were, yes, they were satisfied that the process that we have doesn't contain biases, that it is a very neutral method. It does what it is intended to do. It reduces the sampling errors and it brings a lot of stability and scalability into the measurement of linear. Third point, I think, is very, very important. So they do recognize that it adds greater complexity, but they also recognize, and you know, I think this is clear for the industry, that there is evolution going on in the television market. We see hyperfragmentation. We see an increasing challenge of zero ratings for many broadcasters. specifically around the niche viewing areas. And so despite the complexity, it is solving a problem. It is improving the audience estimations in this era of fragmentation that certainly we all know is happening. And then general recommendation, they see that the benefit is there for all, and then once all start to deploy this technology, it will improve the granularity of the data sets all over. So now we're on to concluding remarks, Moritz, and you're going to just...
I think, Stuart, thanks for that. For me, the three top parts are really relevant in the sense that, the hybrid unification of data, viewing level from sensors and people level, add an insight with a panel, which is just a way forward to solve these problems. The problems are reducing the zero ratings and adding stability with that hyperfragmentation that Stuart mentioned. I think it becomes really, really relevant. And the more data, the better the data we add to it, the closer we come to the truth. And therefore, that increase of the truth is such a relevant element to the monetization of the media that I believe that's a massive achievement.
Thank you very much for this update from Spain and your experiences with HbbTV based audience measurement and making data more accurate. I think that's the main mission, and we'll be seeing you back on this virtual stage in the Q&A at the end of the webinar. And I'm welcoming Hoss from Austria. Virtual Media is your company, a ProSiebenSat.1 at one subsidiary. I've just turned you into presenter, and we are keen on seeing your presentation, and I'll quickly unmute you so we can hear you. So the presentation is there. Just unmute yourself, and then we're ready to go.
Perfect. So, you can hear me, right? Perfect.
Yes.
All right. So
welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm here to talk about the Austrian market and how we shifted into a CPM model over a period of time. Why did this happen? We talked about it before in the Spanish market. The Spanish market, like zero spikes, really had a real impact on broadcasters in terms of revenue, especially if you think about 30 years back, when we had three channels compared to today, where there's a vast amount of opportunities, which made targeting and addressing audiences quite blurry, relating to zero spikes and the buyers especially questioning how to advertise, shifting more and more money into a streaming land, right? The big streamers of today. So how can we prevent that or re-engage with confidence in the market? And please believe me, this didn't happen overnight. It took a couple of years to get these components on one table to figure out how to make this happen. I think it took 4 to 5 years. Virtual Minds as a company, was one of these components, but of course we needed the HbbTV as the center point to orchestrate all these parties together. So we have the measurement part, which is quite relevant, and as we've seen in the presentation before, quite important, because without measurement we cannot comprehend what we need to do next, which for the next step in terms of one workflow, one currency in a live environment, especially optimizing live environment, is quite relevant. How do I optimize that? What do I do with that information? And especially from a media and broadcast inventory perspective, like how do I monetize on that? Which is I think I personally think is one of the most important ones, because what do we do with all these insights if we cannot help the broadcast, especially in linear space, monetize on that? So hybrid currency is key. I'm very surprised that some countries still need that evolution. We're really happy that we were able to build that case. In Austria, we're going to hear how it's going to grow in the UK and other markets. That's where virtual rights is going to as well. But how do we use a hybrid currency model with HbbTV data, return path data, to actually achieve that? And how are we able to use that those two components of data sets from the people meter and from RPD data to combine them to get a clearer view on scale, to live make decisions which ad should be shown to the right audience in less than 60 seconds. And how did we transition that into a CPM model that goes away from projections, assumptions, to actually buying contact. So as you see in here, zero spikes generated the distrust over time, where the Austrian market really quickly adapted to. So how can we use these two data components from demographic, real data, real people, to the massive data sets in Austria. Well, massive for Austria, but compared to other countries, of course, smaller. Let's be real here. But and how can we transition that to a stable, consistent a source that brings us back to sellable inventory that agencies buy into? And for that, we need two components: tailored to 2.0, which is the AGTT, the truth we talked about in the session before as well. We need to align on one truth set and convince all parties involved, from the buy to the sell side, technology partners, that this is the single source of truth. Otherwise, results will differ and fuel distrust even more, which supports the collapse of zero reaches and helps the broadcaster to make money. It's all about money in the end, especially media. But how did we use the system to lay that over on the broadcaster systems? Because different broadcasters, different legacy technologies. So we try to adapt and not interrupt. So same exports, EV Genius and Media Wizard. And how do we monetize on that and optimize on that, which is the product which you might have heard of, TV Load, TV live optimized ads to monetize better for the broadcaster, being able to exchange a spot, a pre-booked spot, within less than 60 seconds, one-to-one, and convert that to a CPM model, which means it's still pre-sell from broadcaster to agency, but the way it's bought is digital, which aligns with the young planners of today, which is quite tempting. Because one thing is clear: we need to adapt to the buyer's way of buying. Otherwise, there will be more and more spend going to streaming platforms. So we try to prevent that. And this is adapted to the whole market. And how do we do that? The currency fix. And we had something similar. We use in the 8.5 or 9 million people living in Austria, we have about 1,500 to 1,670 panel homes, and 1.1 million devices of the 8.59 million people living in Austria, which gives us back about 100,000 RPDs. On these smart TVs, we are able to push a consent-based RPD, where the viewer consents only one time, and then we're able to collect that data, fully audited, which then will be fused into one scalable model. And how is this done? Excuse me. I need some water. Sorry about that. How is this done? We have a three-model stage, which is we have a twin search. What do we do in twin search? As you know from a perspective of a household data set. It's very rich demographics. We can find out who sits there, what is viewed, besides the behavior. What does a smart TV do? What data do we get back there? We see. Well, we won't be able to determine between a 14-year-old gamer and a 54-year-old accountant to watch TV, but we can see what time they watch TV, what time do they put on the TV, the channels they go to, and so on. So these data sets need to be fused. So we are using the rich data of the panel homes and adapt the behaviors we can see and adapt them to the data points the HbbTV data sets are able give us back, return to us. I'm sorry. Once we have that, we basically transition that and model that up to a spin synthetic panel so that we have 30 RPD twins. Don't ask me why 30, but 30 of our RPD twins are enough to replicate, well, to synthesize that into a synthetic panel, which we then able to scale to the 100,000 RPDs. That's which think about this like a very sharp picture you have, and you lay it over a very blurry picture, and you use the parts that are blurry and fill them in with the data you have based on your very sharp picture to generate a huge version of that picture. And why do we need to calibrate? Because the household panels run completely separately, and if you wouldn't recalibrate, that model would go out of range at some point. So we consistently recalibrate to get 100% return. Sorry. What did this do? Well, we call this, we call this in Austria a holy shit moment, a collapse of 97%, which means more money for the broadcaster and a lot of trust of the buy side, which for us was unbelievable in the beginning. But with the help of HbbTV and of course the technology partners like Virtual Minds and TV Insight, who is on the measurement side and models up the data. Will show, there will be a slide soon showing all these parties. We're able to build this platform where we can see exactly the data, zero spikes, audiences, when is the best time to buy, etc., etc. Everybody in Austria who is in on the broadcaster side agency has access, who of course works with the HbbTV. And how do we transition this to money? So we get a signal, less than a signal from the broadcaster. We live audience read that what audience is right now watching TV. Please let me position that it's a one-to-many approach. That's very relevant. And then Media Manager, Virtual Minds orchestration platform for linear and digital, is able to make a decision based on these scaled up data sets, what spot should be shown in less than 60 seconds. It will be one-to-one spot exchange. This is based on 67 segments the Media Manager has in the system, and that helps the broadcaster to monetize better, and the ad gets played out. Buyers feel more confident, right? From a total TV perspective, classical price per second, from GRPs to placement security, with now going from GRP to SIM to delivery, and not only in potential where we have CPM booking, we're able to do a real-time decisioning in less than 60 seconds. Although we learned, with the expansion of our services, that other markets seem to be not ready yet. So we had a request that, well, 60 seconds is great, but our legacy tech does not allow that. What about T-minus 90 minutes? That's already a huge improvement. Where pre-planning usually works weeks in advance, as you all know. And price certainty, pay for contacts. Here lay out how this works. The JIC, the HbbTV of Austria, got everybody onto one table. Agencies, broadcasters, advertisers. Virtual Minds is the monetization arm, so the tool or platform that is able to read the data and make decisions based on that. TV Insight, which is a company born out of Red Bull, basically reading out the data, collecting the data, reading out the modeling up the data, and recalibrating it consistently, so we are able to use these data sets. So it's helped us to generate one standard, a shared audit, so everybody is responsible, and a centralized signal, so one truth, one source of truth, which allows us stability. As I mentioned, the 97% zero collapse. We're able to act in real time, and we are not conflicting with existing workflows and tech. This is very helpful, because otherwise it would have been way more reluctant and pushback, I guess. The most important thing you need to always consider, if you are willing to go down that path, you need to really take care of your consent and privacy mechanism. You need a market alignment, which takes probably the longest to get everybody on the table, because every market, can work with different technology sets. The most important thing is, what's the single point of truth, and how do we fuse different data sets to work between the linear and the digital world at some point, and then flipping the market to a CPM, which we achieved. CPM2, which we achieved in the Austrian market. It doesn't have to be CPM overnight, right? So there are different ways of doing that. We've seen that other markets are quite nervous when it comes to, like, why should we go to CPM right away? Where we always say, like, you have to adapt to your buyer's preferences at some point. Otherwise, you will have more trouble in the future.
Thank you very much for this update from Austria. There's a lot going on and a lot to learn, I think. But now let's move on to the UK, where Samir is waiting for us, sharing his presentation and some insights from the UK market, where, of course, HbbTV is a major tool for distribution and audience insights. Welcome, Samir.
Hello. Hang on, let me find the right window because I think this is HbbTV's time to shine. A bit about me. I'm Samir. I look after outcome measurement on ITV, and I'm part of the team working on Lantern, which is a cross-broadcaster outcome measurement project. And I've been deeply involved in our use of HbbTV data in the UK. In fact, I was late to this call precisely because I was on a legal call about using it. So I'm going to talk about my learnings and how to make more use of it more quickly. And I'm going to explain our motivation. But I'm going to start by just reflecting on what we've heard. And so why isn't it more popular? If HbbTV data is so good, why aren't more people in more countries using it, especially when, as we've heard, there's vast amounts of fragmentation, more screens, more content on those screens. There's still a vast amount of linear viewing happening on set-top boxes, on HbbTVs. But why are you all on this webinar? Why isn't every country in Europe already using all the linear data they can get their hands on? Well, as is the case these days, I asked Google Gemini, and Google Gemini had quite a sophisticated answer. It said that TV is generally traded on a TAM currency, and currencies are defined as people, not devices, and we trade on a basis of audience, which means that bigger channels get more of the money. But it's the smaller channels, or the broadcasters with more channels that have longer tails of viewing, that are the first ones to be affected by fragmentation. We at ITV were the last to be affected by zero-rated spots. It's the smaller lobsters that get boiled first. But in the JIC and MOC systems around the world, because they are smaller, those other broadcasters have less power. They contribute less money, they have fewer votes and less influence, which in turn reinforces a kind of measurement conservatism, which you sometimes get, not from 55 Blue, but in the audience measurement community, there's a lot of concern about large-scale device data compared to the sort of panel side of things, which is why Sky in the UK created AdSmart. They had to find some way of making money from spots that they weren't going to be able to monetize through the official currency. So another way to look at this maybe is that panel-based audience measurement is a bit like the British first past the post voting system, rather than the proportional representation many of you have in your markets. Okay, so why do I think we need it now? Why do I spend my time on really frustrating and difficult legal calls about HbbTV? Well, the blunt answer is that traditional TV audience measurement is increasingly challenged and losing its relevance in media. I spend a lot of time with the audience measurement community. They worry about a lot of things. They worry about representativity. They worry about the quality of large-scale data. And the evidence, I'm afraid, is that they're largely wasting their breath when it comes to defending the pieties of collaborative, transparent, JIC-mediated measurement. Because if you look at this data for the UK, what we can see is that the percentage of media money traded in the UK on the basis of a JIC currency is now getting close to something like 10%. That is not a great record. And you might look at this and say to yourself, oh, that means the proprietary audiences from Google and Meta have won. But that wouldn't be quite right either, because what's really going on is that proprietary models have won, not proprietary audiences, because the money that is spent on Meta and Google is not spent buying audiences at all. It is spent buying outcomes. When you go into the Google outcome shop and you click a button, you tell it what outcome you want. And if you look at total UK ad spend on that basis, most of it is traded, if you like, on an outcome basis. The thing inside, the thing that is walled into the walled garden is a prediction model. The business model is that you pay per prediction, and measurement is prediction now. And absent any measurement from media owners like TV, the finance people in millions and millions of advertisers of all sizes have clearly voted with their wallets. And we have to do something about it. And if you're sat there thinking, oh, it doesn't apply to video ad spend, I've got bad news for you. The majority of UK video ad spend will soon be bought with outcome measurement. And this chart's interesting for another reason, which is that, now, let me see if I can do this. Can I do? Yes, I can. Look, I've got a laser pointer now. Brilliant. You're all in trouble. It's this bit here. Because if you look at these two bits at the bottom, that is all the TV money in the UK. Nearly half of it is also not traded on the basis of a BARB currency, because for the VOD spend, none of us use BARB data at all. We use the registration data, the proprietary registration data that registered users sent us. So not only are we moving away from the thing that used to drive our business, we're not moving towards the thing that will drive it in the future, which is the thing in yellow. And if you didn't think that was bad enough, it's about to get a whole lot worse. This slightly disturbing picture here is by Professor Ethan Mollick. And what he does is every time there's a new AI model, he asks it to make an image of an otter on a plane using Wi-Fi. The first one that you can see up here is clearly the stuff of nightmares, and I hope you sleep okay tonight, having seen that. But now it can do it perfectly well. And just think about how quickly that happened. We went from 2022 to 2025 with a total transformation. The bit that is slightly more secret and less visible is that they are doing exactly the same thing to their 20-year-old ad products, and they are upgrading them with large language model technology. But instead of training it on all the words that they've stolen from the internet, they are training it on all the advertiser data, outcome data that they've ever been given. And what this means is that they're going to produce large outcome models which will privatize marketing knowledge in exactly the same way that they produce large language models. So however bad we think it is currently, it is about to get an order of magnitude worse. Am I cheering you up yet? Right. So what are we going to do? Well, we need our own outcome models. And the strategy in the UK is that we need near-term outcome models, and near-term outcome models need HbbTV. Because if we want to, let me just explain this very briefly. Jörn, I'm sorry, we are way over time, aren't we? So I'll be as quick as I can, but tell me if you want me to stop.
No, it's fine. Just continue.
Yeah. Okay. So if you look here, the issue with TV is that TV does not pay for itself. Oh, sorry, I need a different one. What do I need? I need the pen. TV does not pay for itself here. Everybody who works in marketing effectiveness knows that. It does eventually pay for itself over here, but the trouble is nobody cares about that anymore in the finance communities, in advertisers, which is where those decisions are getting made. What they really care about is this bit in the middle. And if you look at the platforms historically, they're this sort of yellow line here. The otter power that they're about to get is going to increase that line and push it up there. And so we need to do something about that from a TV point of view. And the thing that we're doing is Lantern and adding on a panel, adding a multi-outcome panel. But really, what we're doing is this. We are building a multi-brand, multi-category, multi-outcome model that can influence advertiser finance teams to grow our share of their ad spend to match the share of value that we create for them. Share of business value created is the new battleground. And we have a chance, but we don't have time. And the challenge for HbbTV is, well, who's its biggest fan? You know, the fact that the presentations you've heard that describe a lifespan of multiple years kind of tells you it's not going to be the bottom one. It won't easily be asked to help with audience measurement. It will be a bit, and you know, Caroline, congratulations, Caroline Baxter, on being appointed CEO of Barb. It's brilliant news. That changes the polarity on this one. And then if you look in the middle, it kind of doesn't help there. So my colleagues at ITV, who are charged with targeting addressable communication in different ways, it doesn't really float their boat because they have a number of targeting alternatives. We've got IP delivery, we've got ad serve delivery, and so that's not so much HbbTV's friend. But if you're into outcome measurement, you are absolutely its biggest fan, because if we can collect it with the right data and the right permissions, it can be absolutely transformative for our industry going forward. So, okay, how do we make the most of it and how do we do it quickly? This is hard. It's hard because existing audience measurement products are already really expensive. They are beautiful, best-in-class products that have been evolved over the years, but they are slow to evolve, and that takes time. And then on top of it, people like me are asking for additional money to spend on outcome measurement. And, you know, the head of commercial at ITV would go, well, yeah, all right, but I haven't got endless amounts of money. What are you going to do? And then the second set of challenges is the audience researchers want all of it. They sort of go, well, if I'm going to have any of it, then I want absolutely every device. Whereas if you're doing outcome measurement, you don't really mind that much as long as you've got enough. And also the broadcasters have to enable the collection per channel or per mux, and they don't always do that because they've got different providers of the technology who are talking to them and so on. And then even if you've done all that, you've got to get the schedules and the metadata and overlay that before you actually understand what the exposure is. But the biggest one, I think, is the permissions. My German is not very good, so I am not even going to try and read that out. But here, to compare and contrast, are the notices that were displayed by Barb last year for Panel Plus, and that were displayed in, not in Austria, I think, that must be Germany, for a similar project. But if those keen-eyed bilingual viewers amongst you will realize that there's a difference here. And the difference is the one on the bottom gives you permission to use IP addresses for aggregate outcome measurement. The one at the top does not. That's all right. We're working on that. We've got a new version of this coming out this year. But what it means is that if we get it right, and we treat this data as a shared resource within each country, that we all collaborate and coordinate to make sure that we get the right legal permissions, the right identity keys, and the right storage that goes with that, then it can help everybody, because it can help us deliver more integrated audience measurement in a more cost-effective way. It will help us deliver more dynamic audience measurement. So, you know, the Austrian system I've seen, there's this amazing bit where you can look at live TV ratings by audience. And you go, wow, that feels a little bit like the future. And thirdly, most importantly for me, it allows you to create large outcome models that can compete with the platforms on share of value creation. And as the money moves from the blue bars to the yellow bars, that is absolutely what we need to do. Did I speak too quickly? I hope that was okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for this interesting update and insight, and also looking into the future of how things might evolve. Let's quickly move to France, where Bruno is waiting for us to give us the update from a satellite operator perspective. And there you are. We're just waiting for your presentation, and then we have the full and complete picture of what you can do with HbbTV on various levels and through various industry players. You just need to unmute yourself, Bruno, and your presentation is already there. Here we go.
Yes, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
I put it in presentation mode.
Yes.
If it works. Okay. So thank you very much, Jörn. So I am Bruno Gouin. I am project manager in Eutelsat. So I will talk about audience measurement from a satellite operator perspective. I start with a bit of context. So as Eutelsat, we are broadcasting thousands of channels over our satellites. And for each satellite, the broadcast coverage extends to parts of continents. So I've just put here 3 examples. The first one is Hotbird, which covers Europe and part of MENA. Second one is 78 West. Yes.
Okay, I think we don't have the right slide. You need to turn that into presentation mode and then click to the second page. You still see the front page.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know why.
And now it's the second page, but it's not presentation mode yet.
I don't know why, but let's let me know if it works. Let's try again.
Just click on the little presentation item at the bottom.
Can you see the second slide?
Yes, we can see the second slide. It's just not in presentation mode, but
okay, strange. Let's continue like this. So as I said, we are broadcasting thousands of channels, and the coverage for each channel extends across part of a continent. So 3 examples here. Hotbird, which covers Europe and part of MENA, 78 West, which covers MENA, and 16 East, which covers sub-Saharan Africa. So of course, for a channel, it's very interesting to have such a geographical reach, but on the opposite, it makes it very difficult to have audience measurement, global audience measurement, and over all these countries. So of course, channels are still using, let's say, traditional measurement methods, panels, inquiries, and so on, and they usually do it for their core territories, but it's very difficult to replicate this at a larger scale, because if you want to do that, you need to have multiple partners in many countries. And of course, it has costs. So for these reasons, many channels lack visibility into their audience outside of their core territory. I hope you can see the third slide now. So
no, it's not moving. We still see
what?
the second slide. Now it's the third slide.
Okay, I don't know why. I say as it. So how can HbbTV help, and what do you need to do to measure such large-scale audience? So first, and this is what we have done in Eutelsat, you have to create either a simple HbbTV application, which will embed a tracking agent, or you can decide to integrate this tracking agent into an existing HbbTV application. Once you have this application, you need to insert an AIT table into the signal of the TV channel. So the AIT just tells the terminal, hey, there is an application available here, and this is how you must load it. So you must declare the application as auto start, which means that as soon as the user tunes to the channel, the application starts automatically. There is no action from the end user required. Something important, because this is something that channels are asking us. AIT is a very small table, so it has no impact at all on audio and video quality of the channel. So in our case, we chose to use an existing application that we have, which is called SatTV Connect. So I've put a few screenshots here. So to make it short, SatTV Connect is a program guide, an enriched program guide, branded to the colors of each TV channel. So if you go to the channel, there is a pop-up saying, hey, press green button, and we will have information about the programs. So this is what the end user sees, a program guide. But in fact, things are happening behind the scene. So on the diagram here, you can see, let's say, the traditional broadcast channel path. So you have the TV channel that goes from the broadcaster through the satellite and through the end user. There is the AIT table I mentioned previously.
Just very quickly, we've had feedback from the audience. They would really appreciate if you could share in full screen mode. If you click on the little presentation item on the bottom, on the left-hand side. Then that would automatically zoom into presentation mode. It's much easier for the audience to follow your presentation then.
I'm sorry, I don't know why it's not working.
Then it would be in full screen mode.
Is it better now?
It is slightly expanding, but it's not presentation mode yet.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't trigger the presentation one. I don't know why.
In the PowerPoint, there is this presentation icon. Yeah, this one. Yeah, if you click on that, then it should be presentation mode.
Okay, I think you can see it now.
That's not there yet, but okay, let's continue.
Okay. So we have the broadcast path with the TV channels, the IIT, and from there, the tracking agent is downloaded as part of the application. And the tracking agent runs as long as the user stays tuned to the channel. So the agent is sending data to our data lake at regular intervals, let's say every 30 seconds, but it's configurable. And from there, you can access either interactive dashboards or you can generate also automatic reports. It's important to note that we have the possibility to configure or to activate or deactivate audience measurement on the per channel usage, meaning that you can have the program guide with or without audience measurement. In terms of devices, the only requirement is to be compliant with the HbbTV core specification from HbbTV 1.5, which means that you don't have to rely on additional specifications or on optional features. So basically, it's compliant with off-the-shelf HbbTV terminals. So these are some examples of dashboards that we produce. So for example, of course, obviously, you can see the evolution of audience over time. So these are data from the test channels that we have. You can see how a channel performs per time slot of the day. For example, is it better from, I don't know, 15 to 21 in the evening, or is it better during noon or things like that? How it performs per day, how it performs globally per day of week. So is it better on Sunday? Is it better on Tuesday? And things like that. How it performs per month. And for example, here on our channels, we have seen the effect of the Olympics during this summer. Also, we have some statistics about how long users stay on the channel. Do they stay 5 minutes? Do they stay 30 minutes? Do they stay 2 hours? Things like that. Sorry. We also have information of geographic footprint of audience. So these are data. So the first two are data from our Hotbird satellite, which covers Europe and MENA, and the second one is from 78 West, which covers MENA. These are real data collected from our satellites. Okay. So one word about the audience as we measure it versus let's say the real audience. So what we are measuring is part of the audience, because obviously only a subset of the devices that are present on the territory is eligible to audience measurements through HbbTV. So obviously the device needs to be HbbTV compliant. It needs to have an integrated satellite tuner in our case, and it needs to be actually connected to the internet. So of course, to estimate the real audience, there is some post-processing which is necessary on the raw data that we are collecting. So there are many parameters to consider, but two important parameters are the penetration of HbbTV on the considered territory and the TV connection rate in the considered country. So of course, these data are country dependent, and this data are likely to evolve over time because HbbTV penetration is rising, connectivity of households is rising in many countries. So that's a lot of work behind to be able to estimate real audiences.
I think we need the next slides. There's still the high-level principles on screen. Perhaps it helps if you share your screen and not the PowerPoint window. Just got that feedback from a viewer.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Just change the window into the screen and not the PowerPoint application. That has helped in one of these cases. Sorry for the technical problems. We will make all presentations available. Now it's working on the HbbTV website, of course, as PDF documents after this session. So now we have the right slide. Thank you.
Okay. So the message was there is some significant work to go from the raw data to the estimated real audience on a satellite channel. Okay, and to finish with, so once you have this tracking agent and this HbbTV application, you are not limited to collecting audience data. So, for example, in our case, we are also collecting data about devices. So, for example, which are the most deployed TV brands per country. We are using this to collect data on how users are using our HbbTV application, which language they are chosen, etc., etc. Another important thing is that today what we are measuring is DTH user. So it means people with a satellite dish, pointed to one of our satellites. What we are working on right now is extending this to what we call the redistribution networks. So, for example, it means that a channel is broadcasted on Hotbird satellite, and this satellite channel is used to feed a cable network, for example. We are working on measuring also the audience on the cable network from which the channel is originated. And last but not least, I also want to mention that audience measurement, of course, is a topic by itself, but it's also a building block for other kind of services. For example, I could mention targeting advertising services over satellite, which is another story, but it is also something that we are working on in Eutelsat. And I think that's it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I'd like to welcome everybody back to the stage for a very, very brief Q&A, because we've unfortunately run out of time, but maybe just one or two questions would be a good thing to discuss. We won't be able to do all of them. But the first question, I think, is a more general question, so it could be interesting for everybody. Do you think that the level of agreement is 100%? When do you think that this, I mean, HbbTV-based measurement will replace, also from a regulatory perspective, the old panel-based measurement? Let's look at the EU market first, or to add that from my side, do you think that HbbTV-based measurement and panel-based measurement will continue next to each other for the long term? Or will HbbTV-based measurement win in the end? Samir is laughing.
You'll get very different views on that, I think, from this group.
Yeah.
No, I think the answer is very simple. The large census data doesn't give you the personalized demographic data that you need. So large panel data without the TAM panel doesn't work. You need the TAM panel to actually.
The panel needs to continue.
At least until you have a solution for that part, right? I agree with Moritz that panel data is so rich at the moment that you need them to twin any behavior to a large-scale model, right? So for now, will coexist, has to.
Okay.
Could I just add,
Yes.
you're never likely to get 100% agreement.
Mm.
Chicks are complex beasts. There's governance process and voting protocols and other things like that. The importance is that there's a clear path to getting an industry agreement and on the standard to go in the development. And so this has been the experience in Spain. It is still ongoing, right? But it is clearly an opportunity. Regulatory perspective, I would just say that there's some tidying up of the privacy laws that need to be done, because if we just look at the EU, we have too diverse a patchwork of understanding of the privacy policies or privacy laws regarding consent for audience measurement purposes. So that's another precondition.
Another one to add is, of course, what's on the slide here, that not all devices pass through the HbbTV signal, like set-top boxes, for example, have trouble with that, and HbbTV is enabled there, so those can't be included in these HbbTV measurement schemes. I think so there we have already something that leads to not 100% being covered through HbbTV.
Which is true, but I think that's why I framed mine in terms of large-scale linear data with appropriate permissions and match keys, whether that is Sky surfacing their RPD data, or whether it's HbbTV, or whether it's in some cases MHEG for older devices. And as to the question of will it replace? Well, it slightly depends on your time scale, because on current trends. And I would encourage everybody to do the calculation I've done for the UK for your market. On current trends, just less and less money is being traded on the TAM measurement anyway. So it's kind of a question that's being decided for us whilst we're still stressing about the quality of the large scale data.
And then maybe the last question, because we've terribly run out of time, but this one is important because it was mentioned in all your presentations, if I recall it correctly. That's the consent, the agreement and the approval of data collection from all parts, including the viewer, of course. So the last question is, for the collection of large-scale TV data using HbbTV, what sort of user agreement is in place for viewing data collection, or is it done via a hidden HbbTV application running in the background without any user agreement for viewer data sharing? I don't think that's the case.
So I can answer to this one. So we are using, as I said, we are using a program guide where the audience measurement is kind of hidden, is silent, but and as we are covering many territories, we have to comply with all the regulations over the territories. So so we decided to be GDPR compliant, which is probably the most protective regulation for users. So the user has the possibility to accept or not the data collection from the application.
Yeah, so user consent is essential.
Yeah.
Any further comments by anybody?
On that, I think the challenge is opt-in or opt-out. So for the measurement applications, because you have to link it at individual level before you aggregate, the standard of proof generally is higher, and you'll want to give people the choice to choose to do it rather than to choose not to do it. Whereas for audience measurement, in general, the advice seems to go the other way, and people say, "Oh well, we'll let people opt out," but audience measurement is fairly benign. And this is my point. If the audience measurement people get there first and choose to do it in an opt-out basis, and not to collect the right match keys and not to collect the right permissions for outcome measurement, then they've effectively ruined the resource for any other user in that market. And that is the thing that really needs people to join up and to find others in their market who are interested in the data and coordinate across the legal initiatives. We're very lucky in the UK. There's a strong relationship between Barb and the Lantern crew. In many cases, it's the same people. So we have done that, and we are doing that this year, and we're managing that in a way that I would want as a consumer, which is it will be made very clear to me. And if I choose to opt into that, then lovely. And if I don't, then I don't, and that's okay, because you don't need as many people, and you certainly don't need 100%.
Thanks, Samir. Moritz.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in there that markets like Spain, the GDPR regulations in Spain don't require a consent from the user for the tracking of the device level, because again, it's a device, it's not the user. So the answer to that question would be look into your market regulations country by country. We've seen the example from Samir from the UK. We've seen the example from RTL in Germany. Market to market, slightly different.
Stuart.
Just say that there's draft regulation going through the EU on consent at the moment in a draft called the Digital Omnibus. And this is looking at how audience measurement can have a consent exemption. There's a lot of JICs and the suppliers are working together in a body called the Audience Measurement Coalition to educate the legislators around how this data is beneficial and structurally important for industry and actually wider society. And so if you want to get any more information on this, please reach out, because it's important that everybody gets behind this so that we can measure accurately.
Hoss.
As I said, right, in my presentation, as everybody agrees, consent is key. And in Austria, it's done very simple through a tag that the broadcasters integrate, and it's basically a pop-up on the screen which you just consent one time, and then you collect the data. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Really sorry for running out of time, but this is a clear message that this is a topic that will certainly require another webinar, and it's a topic that will accompany us throughout the year. And of course, the main annual event for the HbbTV community is the symposium, the annual symposium in its 14th year, this year in Barcelona, in Spain, co-hosted with 3Cut, the local public broadcaster. We're very happy, and we'll give you more information on this event and the save the date message as soon as we have the dates. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you for your insights. Have a good day. See you next time and take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.